What is up, everybody? I'm No Lex Given, and today we are going to be grabbing every good boy. As you can probably tell from the thumbnail and title, we're going to be using Zippy the Zombie's hero power to just make a bunch of good boys, probably more than I've ever had in a single game of Storybook Brawl. Unfortunately, we don't get the early slay with Polywoggle, but we do get a Cinderella plus a Genie's Wish. So we're halfway to a treasure. Not the best start. Probably not going to be able to slay with a Polywoggle against Skip the Time Skipper either. So a little bit of a delayed start there. And there is also the option I want to point out. We could have locked onto Roll the Die in this shop. Ultimately, I just wasn't super impressed with the other things in this shop, so I don't wind up locking onto it, and then we do take a little bit of damage from Skip the Time Skipper. But now we get to cast this Shrink Drink, buy and sell this Golden Chicken, and then pick up the rest of the characters in the shop. So pretty strong start despite having a little bit of a speed bump in there. Now we get to play 5 characters. We'll get to trade with some of what my opponent has got going on and start ticking down towards some of those evil twins. You don't really get to grab an evil twin, or any ticks rather, against Skip the Time Skipper, because they're just going to be playing one big character, so that part's a little bit unfortunate. And then I also want to point out, I'm moving my Polywoggle to position 4. I do this a lot on 2.2, that way I can try to slay with it on 3.0, and that's what we're going to try to do here. That's why I'm going to use this Luna's Grace on the Polywoggle. And first, before we talk about anything else, I've got to point out that, because that was definitely a little bit of a mistake. I think I fudged it up there. I think that I deserve some fudge for that one, because while Big Book of Spells is a really, really sweet treasure, and I do really love it on almost every character, including Zippy the Zombie, Crown of Atlas is on my Zippy the Zombie bucket list. It would have been really cool if we could have picked up Crown of Atlas, and then all of those good boys in the end game, you make copies of them, and then they wind up being good still. And Crown is just a really, really powerful treasure on Zippy the Zombie. Now, despite that, we are still pretty powerful, and there is kind of another angle that I'm looking to explore this game. We get some immediate power here, picking up this lightning dragon and then waking up this sleeping princess. And then one other thing that I'm gonna do, it's still 3.1, which is early enough for Brave Princess. So I'm gonna sell off the Golden Chicken to add a Brave Princess to this board. While we don't have the Crown of Atlas, I do want to talk about Big Book of Spells, because it is still a really, really good treasure, like I said, basically on any hero, allowing you easier access to XP spells, which we are going to take advantage of in this game. But the other thing that it potentially lets you do is get a little bit silly with Zippy the Zombie. So now we've got this over-leveled lightning dragon. And what we can do is try to find more Mix-a-Whizzles and True Love's Kisses, so that way we could potentially Evil Twin an over-leveled thing. And I talked about ticks earlier on Evil Twin. Oh, by the way, there's a True Love's Kiss that's going to give us an Angry, so that isn't a good character, but we might be able to True Love's Kiss it again into another good character. And because of that, I'm going to roll past XP. I don't really care about XP this game. I care about doing something silly, and that something silly is trying to find Mix-a-Whizzles and True Love's Kisses only. But the other thing that I wanted to point out is that my opponent last turn was playing a bunch of tokens. So we already have our first Evil Twin, and we're well on our way to our second one. So a pretty strong start for this game. And now what I'd really love to do is Mix-a-Whizzle this Angry and then double Evil Twin it immediately. And if we could do that, we could potentially be set up for a really, really powerful game. So that's basically all that's on my mind. And when you do that, even though it's a Mix-a-Whizzle temporarily, you will get to keep the upgraded tier 6 character. So a lot of incentive to go for that. We also only need one more slay on this Brave Princess. Unfortunately, I'm not going to wind up doing anything worthwhile this turn. I don't even pick up that Turkish Delight. I'm just rolling for Mix-a-Wizzles and True Love's Kisses here. I'm all in. So I just wind up picking up a Golden Chicken and then rolling down, and then I guess I'll cast this Candy Rain to finish the turn off. I didn't really find anything super exciting to cast either of these Evil Twins on. Maybe I could have gone for something exciting, but because I didn't at this point, I'm very tunnel visioned into trying to find something sweet. And we just barely lose this combat as well. It's super, super close. We take 5 damage, we're down to 27, but ultimately, I'm feeling pretty good here. I'm going to roll past another Turkish Delight. I told you Big Book of Spells was good at finding XP spells, but there's a different kind of spell that I am looking for in this one, and unfortunately, it's not going to come up. So I am actually going to settle for an XP spell here. The main thing is, if we take an XP spell right now, next turn we'll be on 5.0, and then maybe we could find something like Robin Wood and cast some Evil Twins on that, grab a tier 5 treasure, an upgraded tier 5 character. I think that would probably be a good route to take at this point, because the Mix-a-Wizzle True Love's Kiss thing just hasn't panned out. Now, one thing to note, I should have Evil Twinned something this turn. Probably the Nutcracker, but should have just Evil Twinned something, so that way I could have at least still played 7 characters, and I'm probably going to be getting another Evil Twin soon. So that was, I think, a small mistake, but we'll see how that winds up working out for us here. We are going to take a ton of damage. We wind up taking 11 damage from this fight, down to 18, but we're going to turn some things around here pretty soon. I'm off of Friendly Spirit. We're actually playing up against the Ghost. So we've got some time. Skip the Time Skipper Ghost. Then we find the Mix-a-Wizzle, and it's time, baby. We get to grab an upgraded Green Knight that's going to give us a tier 6 treasure, make that a tier 7 treasure. We grab a Pandora's Box off of that, and why not? Let's also take a tier 5 treasure as we pick up a Lancelot that will immediately activate. And the other thing I'm going to do here is also lock on to True Love's Kiss. By the way, we're also really doing well to support the Nutcracker, because now we could potentially get some triggers onto that. So overall, this is absolutely fantastic, and I'm super excited where this game has gone. And now I'm locking on to another True Love's Kiss, and there's 2 reasons for that. One, we're going to be upgrading Lancelot here. So regardless, we can grab a upgraded tier 6 character by True Love's Kissing on the Lancelot, but maybe, just maybe, this Pandora's Box hatches into a Black Prism, and then we just get to True Love's Kiss the whole board, and we've got Big Book of Spells to do it again. Now, it's actually going to be a Mirror, and we get Horn of Olympus to go along with our Green Knight. That's pretty good as well, but we're going to True Love's Kiss this Lancelot, and that gives us our first good boys of the game. So we are on to some greater pastures here. We fudged some things up a little bit with the Big Book of Spells, but we were able to put together this crazy board because of it, and this is 5.0. So we're doing pretty good for a 5.0 to have an upgraded good boy. That probably beats yesterday's video, right? So yeah, definitely overall feeling very, very good about our position. And then we're also Zippy the Zombie. So we're going to be able to grab an Evil Twin next turn, and this is just going to keep snowballing and keep getting more and more powerful as the game goes on. So certainly for this stage of the game, we are feeling really, really strong. It might not actually look like it at first, but once this good boy dies, it's going to give everything just a bunch of health, and that should be more than enough to win this fight. We might have to go around a few times, but we will definitely have the stats to do so. And then we're even looking to slay with this Brave Princess, so we'll grab a free tier 3 treasure for that. I'm actually just going to wind up skipping on the tier 3 treasure. Not super exciting at this stage of the game, but we do get to use that extra cash from skipping to cast this Turkish Delight. So first, I'm going to go ahead and cast an Evil Twin on a good boy, grab another copy of that, and then I will grab this Turkish Delight, and that just lets us roll for more good boys and Bear Stains, also a really good one now that we have Mirror. I do want to point out that I did have to roll past a beauty's influence, but it was worth it because we find another good boy before the turn is up, and then we also find a knighthood. So I haven't really talked about this too much, but Big Book of Spells on Zippy the Zombie winds up being a really good late game treasure because it allows you to find Beauty's Influence and Knighthood, two really powerful spells that are just going to allow us to make a whole bunch of good boys and really dominate the end game. The other thing to consider too, even though one of our good boys is evil, when it eventually dies, it will return as a good boy, thanks to Mirror Mirror. All of my other good boys are going to wind up dying first, but eventually this evil good boy, oh, actually it doesn't, because we were too strong. So, funny enough, that 222 just lasted the full combat. I'm going to wind up skipping this Nutcracker treasure too, by the way, and then casting this knighthood. And there is an interesting decision for whether to cast it on a good boy or an evil good boy. Ultimately, I just throw it on the good one in case we have any problems like we just did in the previous combat. But it's definitely really powerful to have access to more knighthoods and more Beauty's Influences in the end game as Zippy the Zombie, and maybe even some additional evil twins. I would probably cast that. An 8 cost good boy is still a good boy, and when you have Mirror Mirror, those good boys are just really powerful. Even though they don't have too much attack just by themselves, they are definitely going to be quite the army when you put them all together. And one thing that I like to do when you count units in Storybook Brawl, you say that each upgraded character basically counts as 3 units. So currently, I would say that I have 7 good boys, right? Because I've got 2 upgraded ones, and then I've got that evil one. But I would actually tend to say that I've got 10 good boys right now, because each of those frontline good boys is going to resummon as a normal good boy, and the stats add up. They're multiplicative. And yeah, so for that, I would say that I currently have 10 good boys, though we're going to make that number a whole lot bigger this turn. So this would add 12, and then this knighthood would then add 2 more as I sell off Sleeping Princess for that. So 3 upgraded good boys times 3, that's 9, plus 1 more is 10, and then plus 4 for Mirror Mirror. So I would call this 14 good boys. Your mileage may vary on that, but when you compare that to the Snow Angel that we just played against, it's going to come down to who has more good boys. And right now we got 14. So I'm still looking to add some more Bear Stains potentially to this lineup, but ultimately I think that we are doing pretty good here. One thing to note, I cut the Green Knight for this turn because I felt like my good boys had too much health and then they weren't dying, and I'd rather play one additional good character in my backline. Ultimately, I'm not sure if that's correct. I think it's probably just better to play the Green Knight and then you got a whole bunch of health on everything, which is just extremely powerful. But either way, we win this combat pretty easily regardless. But I do think I am going to wind up putting that Green Knight back in. We roll a little bit, find another good boy. I'm not going to buy another Green Knight here, I don't think. I'm fine sticking with this evil Green Knight. That's fine for me. And then we also get to pick up Hercules. Now, I will have to sell 3 things to pick this Hercules up, which is basically all of my non-good boy characters, all of my non-good boy, non-Green Knight characters, but this is a ridiculously powerful board. And now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 15 good boys on the board. I guess the math would have just been easier if I said we had 14 and now we're adding 1 more, but 15 good boys is definitely a record for me and super powerful. So this is a ton of fun, and we should be able to activate Hercules in 1 combat. Despite my opponent shrinking its attack with Robin Hood, I think that Hercules should be able to, as long as these good boys die. Actually, not enough good boys died, but we're actually going to make it back around again. Just because my good boys have no attack and just a whole bunch of health, eventually they die off, and then Hercules gets to get in there. So we grab a tier 6 treasure off of this one, and Singing Sword, that's a lot of stats. I think I'm going to go ahead and grab the singing sword here, finally tossing this big book of spells, and then I thought I was going to grab the knighthood in this shop. But ultimately, I think we should just use this evil twin that we have in hand, and that'll give us another tier 6 treasure. So that's pretty sweet as well. We could potentially toss like the horn or something, though I'm not super excited by any of these treasures. We could pick up the spear, but the horn's actually more stats, so I'm just gonna stick with that, and then I'll wind up rolling down, finding an echo wood, adding that to the board, and then one more good boy. Why not? So we'll count these again in a second. I guess each one in the front row we're saying is 4, and then they pigomorph that one anyway. So we had 16 good boys, but they are going to pigomorph our 17th one. I still think we're gonna have enough stats to win this one here though, but we might not have enough stats to win this turn, like kill my opponent this turn. So we've still got a little bit of a battle to go, yeah, because we're only gonna be able to hit them for 10 here, or 11. Depending on if they kill that last good boy. I would have loved to have picked up a mimic chest. That would have made this absolutely crazy, but this is still pretty crazy, so I'll take it. I don't even know if there's a reason to evil twin and add another good boy, though. I probably should have done it just to say, okay, now we've got 18 good boys and we're going crazy, but I wanted to keep all of these upgraded good boys in my front row, and I don't really care about making another evil good boy, so I'm not really going to worry about it. I actually wind up using the evil twin at the end of this turn on the Hercules, thinking that I could potentially grab another treasure from that, but Hercules comes out evil, so that doesn't work. Never mind, I almost just sell it off for the earthquake before realizing it doesn't matter. We're gonna win this combat. My opponent with a bunch of good boys as well, and this is why it's important to count them. So we've got 17. My opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So still a bunch of good boys. Definitely the most good boys I've ever seen in a duel between myself and my opponent, but we've got 16, 17, like I said, so this is just going to be way too many, and we will eventually find the win. Just that one echo wood in the back line at the end of it, but that's all you need. That echo wood was up in the thousands, so pretty crazy stuff there, and definitely the most good boys I've ever had in a single run. Unfortunately, I did not have the Crown of Atlas. That is still on my Zippy the Zombie bucket list, but I guess I'll tease it a little bit that within the next week, I will have a Crown of Atlas Zippy the Zombie game coming at you guys. But that is going to be it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Lex Given. Peace.